Hello and welcome to the Trusted Practice Podcast, where we sit down with the most respected minds shaping health, wellness, and human performance. Today, I'm honored to be joined by someone who is not only a fertility expert but a genuine force of hope for thousands of families around the world. Dr. Mark Sklar. Did I butcher that, Mark?
No, you did not. That was perfect.
Yeah. So, just to go it in a bit in depth, doctor, you are a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, founder of Reproductive Wellness Clinic in San Diego, president of ABORM, and the host of Fertility TV with over 300,000 subscribers. Has spent more than 2 decades helping couples understand that fertility is never just a diagnosis. It's a story of the whole person. Dr. Sklar, welcome. It's an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and excited to talk today.
That's amazing. So, I want to start from your origin story. You have shared that your own health struggles as a child led you toward natural medicine. Can you take us back to that moment when conventional answers ran out and what truly pushed you to pursue this path?
Yeah, from a young age, I dealt with many digestive issues. And I always was, my stomach was always bothering me. I didn't feel good. I had various different sort of itises, as I like to joke about, appendicitis, pancreatitis, and I was just fed up with those things. And the reality was that when I would go in as a teenager and young adult, when I would go into my physician, there wasn't really much that they could offer me. They told me to just rest, maybe look at changing my diet, told me to take some medication or antacids or something like that, and nothing really, helped. And
Yeah.
so what ended up happening is I was talking to a cousin one day, and she had suggested that maybe I should try acupuncture. And at the time, I was a little hesitant. I didn't really know much about it or think that it would be beneficial. But when I ended up in the hospital with a bout of pancreatitis when I was in college, while I was in the hospital, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do something different. There's clearly what I've been doing hasn't been working. And so that was my first experience, or after that was when I walked into an acupuncturist office, got my first experience of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And I really felt dramatically different after those first few visits with her. And so that really opened up my eyes to the possibility of something different and what it might look like. But I never thought that I would personally come down this path, and start treating patients. For a short period of time in undergraduate school, I was pre-med, and then I just decided that I wanted to study some other things and kind of moved in a different direction. So when I graduated from college, I needed to figure out what I was going to do
Yeah.
with my life and where I was going to go next.
Yeah.
And my acupuncturist at the time, knowing that I was pre-med for a period of time, suggested that
Yeah.
I look into becoming an acupuncturist and Chinese medicine doctor. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. And I said, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I could try it out. I don't like it. And I try something different. And I never looked back really at that point. So that was how that's how I ended up into this field.
It's amazing. Amazing, Mark. I mean, I can now realize what can be my next question. It's all about the turning point. I mean, when did fertility become more than a clinical interest and turn into a calling for you?
Yeah, I was always interested while I was going through school. I was always interested in women's health.
I see. Yeah.
Um, I was trying to figure out where my specialty was going to go and where the path was going to lead me. And I was working with or assisting mentoring with several providers who did focus on women's health and some fertility. But really, the turning point for me was the first woman who I ever helped conceive. So I was still in school, and we were working in the clinic, and a woman came in. She had been trying to get pregnant for a little over a year, and she had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And within my first, I worked with her initially for about 4 to 5 months, and within that time frame, we were able to quickly regulate her menstrual cycle because prior to that, her cycles were irregular. We were able to regulate her menstrual cycle. She was having them consistently every month, and support her hormones. And so she came in one day and she said to me, she said, Mark, I think for all the good things we've done, I think we've gone backwards. And I said, well, why? She said, well, I've missed my period again. It skipped.
Yeah.
And I said, before we get, overly concerned, why don't you take this pregnancy test, go to the bathroom, and tell me what it says?
Yeah.
And she came back with a big smile on her face, and the stick was positive. And that moment really changed everything for me. Even to this day, when I tell the story, I get these little chills as I tell the story because it was such an impactful moment for both of us.
Yeah.
For her, she was able to have her family, and I helped her with her second as well. But really, for me, and for so many others, that moment is what changed the trajectory of my career because I said, I want to feel this again, and I want to be able to do this with others. And so that's really the experience that pushed me down the path to become a fertility expert. And she doesn't know this. I haven't spoken to her in, probably 10, 15 years, but she doesn't know this. But her coming to me and trusting in me to support her really changed my life, my career, and has allowed me to impact so many lives around the world. So that one moment really changed lives for so many.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Mark. I'm
Yeah.
so inspired from that story. It's really amazing. Yeah, I mean, till this point, I want to particularly go a bit in depth about your family chapter. I love how personal your story is. Your brother's fertility journey was such a defining moment, and like how did that experience shape your empathy as a practitioner today?
When you support your family,
Yeah,
you have to approach things a little bit differently because we know each other so well. But it really just allowed me to recognize that all I can do is lead people. I can give people the information, but I can't make anyone do anything. So, and that's an important thing for me. It allows me to keep my feet grounded and not get caught up in some of the choices that the couples that I support make or don't make. So that piece is really important. The other important piece about that moment in supporting my brother was that I was here in California and he was in Florida. And so I had to think outside the box for how I was going to support him because I couldn't use acupuncture like I was doing for others. And looking back on that years later, what it made me realize was that was the beginning of my creation of my virtual program, the HOPE Fertility Coaching Program. Because with that program, I coach and support couples all over the world. They never have to come to California, and I can support couples from everywhere. Obviously without acupuncture, but that moment or that experience with my brother and being able to support him from afar allowed me to understand that there was so much that I can do even without the one modality of acupuncture, which I had at the time relied on so heavily, that it really propelled me to create that whole other experience for couples around the world. So it was a shifting point for me as well.
it's amazing how life can go with ups and downs. Yeah. Like, I want to ask you this. I mean, in like we researched this on you and we found that you have said in one of your videos or in your website, not sure, but it is something like there is no such thing as unexplained for infertility, something like that. You said. So why do you believe that like that level is so limiting, and how do you help couples move beyond it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and something I'm super passionate about. Unexplained infertility tends to be this catch-all term that is used when we have patients who come into our door, when we have couples who have been struggling for some time. We've done some basic testing and they don't fall into the traditional boxes that we've allocated for fertility diagnoses. It's also something that I've seen where couples were given a diagnosis and still told they had unexplained. So it tends to be this really catch-all phrase that I find, unfortunately, is a reason to suggest or push couples to do IVF. Now, I'd like for all the listeners to understand, I have no concern with IVF. I have no issue with it. 50% of the couples that I support are going through IVF, in vitro fertilization. So I'm a fan of it when it's appropriate and necessary. But I believe at least 50%, if not more, of the couples that go through IVF do it prematurely or unnecessarily. And often that's because they've been given this diagnosis that's not a diagnosis of unexplained infertility. And unexplained doesn't tell us anything. It literally means that we just don't know why you're not able to get pregnant. And often what I find there is that we've either not asked the right questions, not run the correct testing, or misinterpreted the information that we have in front of us. And the other piece of that is, like I mentioned earlier, if we don't fall into these traditional boxes of fertility diagnoses, then you're going to get this unexplained diagnosis. Well, the reality is there's lots of reasons why someone might be having challenges conceiving, and they all don't mean that you have a true reproductive issue. It doesn't mean that you have an abnormality or blockage or some structural issue going on with the reproductive organs. It doesn't mean that you have, PCOS or endometriosis. It could be that you have something else going on in one of your other systems that are outside the reproductive or the main endocrinology framework, but is impacting your fertility and your reproductive function. And so for me, it's often about what are we not asking, what has been missed and overlooked. Additionally to that, especially today, very different than when I started 23 years ago, we have a lot more tools at our disposal to dig deeper, to figure out the root causes. And most IVF clinics just don't put their focus there. Their focus is on providing IVF. So, so if we actually take some time to figure out what is going on with a couple, then I do believe that we're going to find the root answers. And that's really my focus when I work with couples, is to find the root cause of what's going on. And there might be multiple root causes, right? And they might have nothing to do with fertility issues, meaning it might be stress, it might be digestive issues. And people listening might say, well, how are those things fertility issues? Well, they're not initially, but over time, if they're not supported, addressed, and corrected, they will impact the endocrine system. They will impact your reproductive function, or can, because it doesn't do that with everybody. And so we need to be a little bit more open-minded, a little bit more broad in our perspective and understanding of the body. Now, one of the reasons that this is the way current reproductive medicine is focused is because we have created these silos in our conventional medical model of specialties. And there's nothing wrong with being a specialist. It's great. But when we're specialists, we put on blinders. And we have these like invisible walls that don't allow us to see through to these other areas. And that becomes, or can become, an issue when we're trying to have a more broad understanding of the potential causes that might be impacting our fertility.
Even if it was unexplained infertility, you explained it perfectly, Mark. Really? Super explanation. Yeah, but I'm like, I want to go a bit more in depth with you. And it's all about you. We also researched about your mind-body medicine. You trained at Harvard's Mind-Body Medical Institute, and what did you learn there that forever like changed the way you treat fertility?
Well, it changed really my approach to just life and health overall. That our mind is our direct is directly connected to our physiological body and the symptoms that we experience. And we have a greater control over our health mentally than we believe that we do. And often when it comes to fertility, so much of what we experience has to deal with how our mind is approaching the situation. So we know that fertility, and this research was done, I think, 25, maybe 30 years ago, but we know that the diagnosis of fertility for couples is equal to or greater than those individuals who were diagnosed with cancer or any other life, um,
Yeah,
concerning disease like
re-
cardiovascular disease, cancer, so forth. So
really?
it's a huge stressor on someone's life and relationship. And if we don't acknowledge that piece, then we're missing a huge part of what we should be addressing and supporting. And so that is a huge concern. If you didn't have stress for whatever reason before you were before you started trying to conceive, and most of us already have stress in life, before that, but the act of trying repeatedly month after month, if you've been doing it for 3, 6 months and not having results, that is going to cause stress in and of itself and add on to whatever stress you already had. And for most couples, especially a lot of these type A couples, they've been successful in life. Everything they put their mind to, they've been successful. They wanted to get these grades in school, they did it. They wanted to get this good job, they were able to do it. They wanted to get promotions at work. All they had to do was put their mind to it, put in hard work and focus, and they were able to achieve it. So when they're not able to do the same thing with fertility, it causes stress and frustration. But fertility is very different. We can't just like work our way towards it. We can't just like work harder. Oh, I'm going to put my mind to this and I'm going to work harder and I'm going to achieve my goal. That's just not how it works. And so understanding that as much as we might have some physical issues and physiological issues that might be contributing to our struggles with fertility, there's also this mental component that is extremely important and plays a crucial role. And if we're not able to manage both pieces, then it's going to be much harder for us to achieve the results and the goals that we're trying to achieve. Those couples who have a positive outlook, stay grounded, have the tools, or they follow through with their ability to kind of manage their stress. They get good sleep on a regular basis. They have some form of exercise. Maybe they're doing some things with meditation or yoga or whatever it might be to connect their mind and body, to take the stress off of their mind. Those are the couples that tend to be the most successful. The ones who are trying to control everything
Yeah.
because they think they're just going to control their way to it, the ones who are caught up with all the minutia of details, and I'm not saying those details aren't important, but they can't let some of those things go, and they can't find the way to kind of unplug their brain for a little bit. Those are the ones who have the hardest time reaching the goals.
So, Mark, it's my question particularly. Uh, what would you, uh, what do you exactly mean by type A and type B couple? Can you please define these a bit more in depth, at least for me, for the audience,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, so really when we refer to type A personalities, and it could be an individual or it could be a couple, it's that person who is driven, they just had to work harder to be successful, They're go, go, go. They're, achievers in life. Everything has its place. It's organized. They're controlling every aspect of their day and their life. That's a type A personality. Everything has a place. Everything's controlled. Everything has a process. And if I want to achieve a promotion at work, all I have to do is work harder, and I'm going to put in the time, and I'm going to get it. If I want to be successful at a sport, all I have to do is put in the time and put in the effort, and I'm going to achieve those things. That's what I mean by type A personality. In the fertility world, that doesn't always work. Trying to control everything doesn't always work. And so the example I like to give for everybody is things are created in space. Okay? So when we want to create something, let's say you wanted to create this podcast. You created space in your schedule to start to organize your thoughts around it. What's it going to look like? What do I need? How are we going to achieve those things? You created time to do that, right? And once you put in those things, everything starts to work out. Fertility is the same. You need space. You need to create the space to become pregnant. So if everything's trying to be controlled, if you're trying to grab on as hard as you can and control every aspect of it, when I clench my fist because I'm trying to control, there's no space for anything to be created. So I want people to let go a little bit. It doesn't mean giving up, but just create some space for you to be able to function a little bit more fluidly, for things to be created within. And that's when we have the magic. That's when we have the opportunity. So it's not about being type A in this situation. It's about taking a step back and recognizing that I can't control all of these things, and I'm going to give it the space to do what it needs to do. I'm going to give my body the space. I'm going to give my mind the space to do what they need to do. I can do that type A stuff someplace else, but I'm not going to do it with my fertility.
Yes. Magnificent, magnificent, Mark. Now, I will never ever forget in my life what's type A and type B. So, in this part, Mark, I want to talk about the coaching program you just mentioned a few moments ago, the
Sure.
HOPE program. The HOPE Fertility Program has supported like couples worldwide, obviously. You mentioned that. So, what makes this approach work? Like, how should I ask this question? Let's be intense. What makes this approach work when so many others fail? What do you think?
Look, I think the HOPE program is special for several reasons. The first one is my true main focus is to get answers for couples, is to figure out why you're going through the difficulties, the challenges that you're experiencing. Whether that would be endometriosis, by the way, which is a diagnosis, but it doesn't tell me why. Whether that's PCOS, again, a diagnosis, but it doesn't tell me why. It doesn't tell me what type of PCOS you have. It also doesn't tell me if there's any secondary or tertiary conditions that might be impacting or contributing to making this more difficult, right, and more challenging. So my goal is to figure out the root cause of what's going on with couples. If you've had multiple losses, I want to understand why that's happening. I'm not content with just saying, well, let's just try again. I had a couple who had 9 losses, and no one would look for why that was happening. And once we're able to determine the root cause, we're able to address it. And then usually when we're able to address it, we can get results. And so that's really what makes the program, I think, special and unique. The main reason is that I'm looking for answers. And so with that, that means we're going to do usually we're doing more testing that others haven't done. We want to dig deeper into that. Now, I had a couple this week said, you are suggesting these additional tests, and I'm not sure we really want to do that. We're not here to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do, right? But if you're coming to me for answers, I'm going to tell you what I think you need to get those answers or to rule those things out so that we can have more clarity as to the underlying reason or cause as to why you're struggling the way you're struggling and why these challenges have been here for so long. So that's number one. Number two is I create a personalized plan for every couple who comes into the program. They could be in Australia. They could be in South Africa. They could be in Israel, in the UK, in the US, Canada, wherever. And I say those countries because literally we have people all over, right? That we could have couples wherever they are. We're going to create a plan that is unique to their diagnosis, right? What do we find? What are the findings we see? And so we're going to create a plan to address those findings and then give them the tools and resources to facilitate and move forward with those programs. I always tell everyone, I can tell you what to do, but I can't do it for you. So I'm going to give you the framework. I'm going to give you the outline. I'm going to give you the map to get to your goals, but I can't do it for you. You have to move forward with that on your own. And then once we give them a personalized plan, then it's not about just giving them a plan and walking away and not looking and not supporting them. With progress, we need change. So as someone facilitates the plan and we see progress, then we need to adjust based on the progress. So periodically we're checking back in, or they're checking back in with us, letting us know about their progress. We're understanding how have the labs changed, how have their cycles changed, how have their health changed. Okay, now let's adjust your plan again to accommodate for that, right? Or in some instances, we're not seeing progress. So where do we do from here? How do we adjust? So this is about ongoing support and to achieve the ongoing goal. And it's additionally the HOPE program is there to support couples if they want one child, if they want two, if they want three, whatever it might be. We're there to support them along the way.
You're saying that if, let's say, for an example, I myself with as a couple with my wife, so if I start the HOPE program, uh, it's a very basic question actually, like how long the program will go. Is that time duration wise or till as a couple, like we together get pregnant? So, or what's the duration of of time duration of the HOPE program?
The HOPE program doesn't have a time. It's a lifetime program. So when
See,
somebody joins, they're in it for life. If they, assuming that's what they need. Um, but um, But really, I think the other question that often gets asked is how long will it take to get to the final goal of like being pregnant? And that varies for all couples. We have some who conceive in 2 or 3 months, and we have others who take over a year, depending on their circumstance, how long they've been trying, how difficult or complicated their situation is. So we have seen all of it. The biggest thing that I always tell everybody is if it takes you 2 months or if it takes you 12 months, we're there for you along the way, right? So as long as they're engaged with us and actively participating in the program, we're there to support them, whatever they need.
it's amazing, amazing. So in this part particularly, I want to talk to you about ABORM. Am I right with that?
Yes.
The Jewish
Yeah.
ABORM. So you're guiding an entire field. My question would be, what direction do you believe reproductive medicine needs to take in the next 10 years?
Yeah. So with regards to ABORM, um, I'm the past president. I'm not currently any longer the president, but I was actively engaged in the foundation and ongoing support of the program of the organization. It's something that I'm very passionate about. But really, what I see two different things when it comes to the future of fertility in the coming years. One is I see a huge reliance on technology, AI, and more manipulation of humans in that. And what I mean by that is like manipulating DNA, manipulating cells to create in a lab sperm and egg and embryos and so forth. I see a lot more of that coming. I don't think that will be inexpensive. So I think there'll be, an elite group, at least in the beginning, with the financial means to utilize those tools. And that's amazing in and of itself, but it's a little scary to me. Like, all this sci-fi movies that we all
Yeah.
watch, like I feel like I'm watching that in real life now when we start talking about these things. So it's super fascinating and cool, but I also think there's a lot of potential risks and concerns, and I hope that, as a community, as a civilization, and a medical system, that we're aware and looking into that. But simultaneously, I think there's a whole population of individuals who are not attracted to that. Like that doesn't is not attractive to them. That's scary, that's strange, that's just not the way things should be done or created. And so I do think simultaneously we're going to see a huge push, and it's already there, but I think we're going to see more of it, of those couples who are like, that's not really for me. I want to try naturally. I want to figure out what's going on. Um, and so I think there's going to be this divergent path. They don't have to be separate from one another, but I do think there's going to be these two paths that we're going to start to see couples take, as kind of the evolution of reproductive medicine continues on.
It's indeed kind of a sci-fi film is gonna be the reality very, very soon. You're
Yeah.
spot on that. Yeah. So we're almost at the end of our podcast. Probably two more questions from you. I I'm really enjoying personally the time I'm sharing with you right here. So
Good.
yeah, two more questions and then gonna
Sure.
wrap up. So yeah, it's about visibility of practitioners. Like many brilliant practitioners like hesitate to show up online. So from your experience, Mark, how important is credibility through visibility for acupuncturists and holistic doctors today?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to be scared of being online, being a personality, or being, a small presence but a strong voice in the online world, whether that's on social media or whatever platform, podcast, whatever that might be. I think we all have a message to share, and I think that there are people in the world that are going to connect with those messages and that want to hear those messages and need those messages. And we all have something that's valuable and important to represent. And I think the more of us that are there communicating, talking, sharing our experience, sharing our beliefs, um, the more validity there is in, natural medicine and integrative medicine, and in how we can support the world in whatever health path there is. There's nothing to be scared of being in front of a camera. If someone is scared in terms of being in front of a camera, putting their voice out there and putting their words out there, it's a personal thing. It's a they thing, not a everybody else thing. Now, with that, I will say, anytime you put yourself out there, there will always be criticism. There's always
Absolutely.
someone who's going to be jealous,
Oh my God.
who
Yeah.
doesn't appreciate what you're doing, and is going to criticize you. You can't focus on the haters. You've got to just focus on, the positive. And so those are just things that I just don't pay attention to. It doesn't really mean much to me, because every time I get a post, a private DM, an email of somebody who watched my videos, who did whatever it was, and
Yeah.
they tell me that, and now I have my little baby in my arms, and I'm so grateful for listening to your guidance. That is why I do what I do. It's not for the other. And so if we all just focus on the message we want to share, the value of that message, and just have confidence in yourself, I think that's really what the world wants to hear and needs to hear.
Let's talk about the message as a very last question. It's a bit of wisdom and hope for couples listening right now. Maybe exhausted, maybe losing faith. I mean, what's one truth you want to tell them to hold on to? What's the truth?
I've seen so many different cases over the last 23 years.
Yeah.
Things that looked super easy, that were going to be straightforward, things that were very complicated. In all aspects, those who maintained hope and belief were the ones that were successful. And I want all of you listening to understand that the first thing, the first next step you need to take is believe in yourself and your ability to conceive. That's what your body was meant to do. That's number one. And then number two, age is just a number, and it's a number you cannot control. And truly, the only thing in your life you cannot control is how long you've lived on this earth. So don't focus so much on your age and focus on what you can do to support your cellular health and your overall health. Those are the things that are going to propel you to get the results that you're looking for. And just because somebody, one person told you, you can't, you won't, you're too old, doesn't make that truth. Okay? It's only truth because you believed it. So if you want a different truth, a different reality, a different perspective, look for that so that you can get out of your life, your health, your reproductive journey, what you want out of it, which is a baby and a family. So
Yep.
I tell everyone, I believe in you. And if you need a little bit of belief and hope that you don't have, take what I'm telling you right now as part of that, as the start, the spark that gives you belief and hope in your ability to conceive. That doesn't mean that we just rely on belief and hope and we don't make change. But that's the first step to making change.
Dr. Sklar, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your insight, compassion, and truth. Like time goes really fast with you. Like really, Sklar, it was really amazing to listen to you all the time. Like you remind us that fertility is more than a medical process. It's a journey of connection, patience, and probably sometimes believe in the body's wisdom. So, yeah, for everyone listening, you can learn more about Dr. Sklar's work at marksklar.com, marcsklar.com, and follow Fertility TV on YouTube for weekly guidance and inspiration. As always, I'm Hassan, and this has been the Trusted Practice podcast powered by Authority Rank, where purpose meets credibility. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and stay connected.